There are moments in our lives, split seconds that occur, that have more meaning than we can know at that time. We begin to realize in the days, weeks, and months that pass, that moment that occurred was once in a lifetime. My name is Michael Malone, and I've been a police officer with the Wall Township Police Department for 15 years. I grew up in Wall Township. Ever since I could remember, I really wanted to be a Wall Township police officer. Being a cop in the hometown you grew up in, it's the greatest job in the world. I just try to make a positive impact on every encounter that I have. On September 4th, 2012, at 16:47 hours, I got dispatched to a routine suspicious vehicle call. Myself and my partner responded down to River Road. The vehicle was gone, so we decided to knock on the door of the person who called to see if there was any more information to follow up with that caller. So I pull up, and it's this big, long stone driveway, old brick house with a slate roof. We knock on the door, and this elderly man comes to the door. He's wearing a baseball cap that says Patton's Best, with an insignia of the 4th Armored Division. I said, "Sir, did you serve under General Patton?" So the man looked at me kind of surprised that I even knew who Patton was, and he's like, "You know about Patton?" And I said, "Yes, sir, my grandfather served under Patton." And he said, "What army?" I said, "The 3rd Army." He's like, "Well, come on in." And one of the first things I see on the wall is this shadow box. In the top left, I see the silver star. I said, "Sir, is this a silver star?" He said, "That's 3 silver stars." So at that moment, every hair on the back of my neck stood up. This guy's the real deal. We came inside, we sat down at the kitchen table, and we just talked, and I learned all about him. So I get in my car, and I'm driving away, and I realize, man, I've grown up in this town. I've lived here for 30 plus years. I've been a cop in this town for almost a decade. How is it that I never heard of this guy? He was a 2-star general, 3 silver stars, Bronze Star with Valor, Purple Heart, and an American hero.
General Rockafeller's story really pushed our community policing in a new direction. Patrolman Mike Malone has always been a community-oriented type police officer. He's always done the little things to make improvements and to help the community along. This particular story continues to advance our police department and progress in a good manner.
That was the first day I rode with Mike, was when I met Harry. I was the last one in my family that's ever going to meet a World War II veteran. I don't think it's going to be coming around very often now. These guys they're going, they're passing on.
I've known Mike Malone, my entire life. We grew up literally down the street from each other. He cares about this community like you could never even imagine. And General Rockafeller, Harry, he is his community as well too. Mike was his go-to guy. Harry needed anything at all, he called Mike up and Mike was there to help out.
I mean, there were times where he had, busted pipes and frozen pipes and electrical problems, and I was almost more like a general contractor than a cop, but I did whatever I could to help him.
Well, Mike arranged for us to come over and just hang out with Harry on a night that we were not working. We met up with him here at his house in the evening. As soon as I walk into this room, I just realized, wow, this guy really is special.
Well, as soon as he started talking about the war, he was dialed in. He was describing it as if I was there. He remembered everything piece by piece, exactly what happened. And he was actually involved in the Battle of the Bulge. It was something that you read about in the history books. And here I am standing in Wall Township next to this guy that, little did I know, I really learned about growing up in school. He was in the 4th Armored Division, which ended up saved hundreds of Allied forces' lives at the time, which was a turning point in World War II.
A wild night, really wild night, the rest of the night. The following night, we were in that position. Meanwhile, those people had just up and ran. The following night, we're in the same position, and then the Germans gave it to us because they knew that we were brand new in the line, and they might score the same way by belting the hell out of us with everything they could fire, and maybe we would run too. We didn't run. We didn't come over here to have a picnic. We came over to fight. Now we're in it. We're going to do it.
Every time I talked to him, I started to learn a little bit more about each of these battles. And when he would describe what he went through and what these guys were going through was incredible. There were parts in these stories where he's talking in French, where he's talking in German, and there were a lot of times where he would get emotional.
When I think of Mike and Harry's relationship, they had a connection, and maybe the connection was history and the war. Their friendship grew into something more. And I think Mike looks to Harry as not only a friend, but a grandfather figure and a hero.
One of the most significant events that we did for him was on Veterans Day 2016. I had driven by his house and I noticed that his flag was kind of torn and tattered. We made arrangements to come down here as a squad and raise this new flag for him. He came down the steps with his health aide and we raised the flag and we turned around, we saluted him. I mean, we're talking about the same guy who saluted George Patton, Omar Bradley, was now saluting us. I remember the last time I spoke with Harry. It was late July this past summer, and I knew his health was declining, so I stopped by to see him. I was working, and I went upstairs, and I sat down next to him. At the end, I stood up and I shook his hand, and I stepped back, and we saluted each other. I felt like I've known him for 100 years, but in reality, it was only 5. And at that moment, I knew it was coming to an end. And that was the last time I talked to him. From the day I met Harry Rockafeller to the day he passed, I tried to be there for him as a friend and as a police officer to do whatever he needed. Now, I didn't serve with Harry. I tried to do my best to serve Harry. Having that chance encounter, it was all mapped out years ago, and everything happens for a reason. When I first met him and we developed that friendship, that is truly just once in a lifetime. He's from the greatest generation, but I like to call him he was my greatest friend.